Everyone, just a quick video to talk a little bit about what you're going to be working on today. So you'll need to watch the Ken Burns documentary. That will give you some context of what's going on during the time period that this novel is set. I'm also going to go over briefly the parts of a story. So the parts of a story are the main ways that we're going to talk about the different elements in a story. The beginning of a story is the exposition, and this is where the scene is set. We understand what the setting is, who the protagonist is, who or what the antagonist is, and really kind of the situation of the story. That'll all be set up in the exposition. Then a conflict or crisis will happen in the story. The main crisis of the story usually involves complications, especially in a novel, and a main crisis action. Then there's a falling action, and this is what happens as a result of this crisis. And then there's a resolution, and that is how the story resolves. So no solution is often given in modern fiction, but it's really important to think about these sections of the text when you're thinking about writing about fiction. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the next slide. So the literary terminology, you're going to be using that today in your journal when you're writing about whose names are unknown. You're required to read chapters 1 through 10 and answer the questions in the journal, which ask you to use some of these terms. It's very specific. Please make sure you answer the questions directly. So some of these terms are an allusion. That's a brief reference to a character or an object or a situation outside of the work. Anthropomorphism, that's an attribution of human characteristics to something that's not human. Catharsis is when it's the effect of tragedy on the audience. Connotations, these are secondary meanings. We know about these, right? We learned them in poetry. Different than denotations, which is just the dictionary definition of a word. Figures of speech, also something we know from poetry, right? These are words used in more than their literal sense. So metaphors, similes, etc. Genre is an artistic form. So poetry is a genre and novels are a genre. Irony is a statement or situation in which the intended meaning is the opposite of what is literally said, done, or expected. And a motif is the reoccurring phrase, image, scene, or theme in a work used to unify a piece. Paraphrasing is just when we restate what's happening in our own words. Pathos is the power in literature to evoke feelings of pity, compassion, and sadness. And voice is the personality of a writer or narrator as revealed by the diction of a text. So when we talk about fiction, we talk about the voice of the author. The elements of fiction that you really need to know for today, though, are protagonist, that's the main character of the story, antagonist, that's the most significant character or force that opposes the protagonist in the crisis. The exposition, like I told you, is the beginning of the story. It's where the scene is set and the protagonist is introduced, and the author reveals any background information necessary for the reader to understand the events that are going to follow. Conflict is the central struggle between two or more forces in a story. Point of view is the perspective from which a narrative is told. It can be told in the first person, I went to the store, the second person, you went to the store, or third person, he went to the store. Now, those can all be much more complicated, and we'll talk about that, but those are the basics. Crisis is the point in a narrative when the crucial action, decision, or realization must take place. Climax is a moment of greatest intensity of the story. A symbol, as we know already, is someone or something that is a literal presence, but is also representing something beyond himself. Foreshadowing is an indication of events that are yet to come in the narrative, but a hint at what's to come. And a flashback is a scene relived in a character's memory. Epiphany is a moment of profound insight or revelation by which a character's life is greatly altered. And in medias res is a Latin phrase meaning in the middle of things. And it refers to the narrative device of beginning a story midway in the events that it depicts before explaining the context of preceding action. So hopefully that terminology will help you. I've also posted a short video about Sonora Bab. It's on the announcement today, and it's also on the page, the intro page on the module. That's it for today, you guys. I'm going to stop sharing because I went over these with you earlier. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please reach out to me via email. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday live in person. Bye-bye.